So 10.2 properties of linear functions. Don't worry about the MDE60 thing. That was just me writing a note to myself. But properties of linear functions. After a parachute is deployed, a function that models the height, of a parachutist above the ground is f of t equal to negative 10t plus 2800. So this is the formula or function that they give us, where f of t in feet of the parachutist in t seconds. Let me erase this stuff. After the parachute is deployed. And they ask us to find the intercepts and what they mean in context. So we'll talk about that in a second. Right now, I'll give you a chance to write it for those who are trying to write. So we have a parachute is deployed. Person jumped out of a plane, of course, that's the parachutist. They give us a function that represents the rate that the person is falling according to the feet, time, seconds, and all the good stuff. So after t seconds, in other words, we'll have a certain amount of seconds, you plug it in, that'll let you know at what feet the parachutist should be. And so it tells us to find the intercepts. All right, so when you talk about intercepts, let's see, hold on one second. Did we do y-intercepts, x-intercepts? Let me can find one real quick before we keep going. Cool. One. Thought we did y-intercepts, intercepts, x-intercepts in here. Anyway, I'll do it in here in a second just to make sure. I thought we already covered it. But when you talk about x-intercepts, y-intercepts, for your x-intercept, you let y be equal to 0. When you want to find your y-intercept, you let x be equal to 0. All right. So that's going to be the key to finding your intercepts. When you're looking for your x-intercept, you let y be equal to 0. When you're looking for your y-intercept, you let x be equal to 0. So what do we mean by that? In this case, we have the value x represent the value that you're plugging in. So we're talking about t. And then your y is that f, the f of t. Now we talked about your function notation last class. So t is seconds, and I wrote that right here. T is seconds, which represent normally our x, and then y is our feet. All right. So first off, we start by letting t be equal to 0. So we just plug in 0 into the function. And we have 2,800 feet. So what that means, remember they told us to explain what that means. So here's what that means. At t equal to 0 seconds, the parachutist is 2,800 feet in the air. So before the parachutist jumps, he or she would be 2,800 feet in the air. Because remember, t represents seconds after the parachutist jumps or is deployed. They say deployed. Now the next one, so that was seconds being 0. The next one we're looking at feet being 0. So you start off Here you let f of t be equal to 0, so you plug it in right here. That's where f of t was. Because remember, we're still using this formula, this function right here. So f of t is right here. So we have 0 is equal to negative 10t plus 2800. So now to solve for t, subtract 2800 from both sides. 2800 cancels on the right. Then you have 2800, negative 2800 equal to negative 10t. Divide by negative 10. And t is equal to 280 seconds.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you plug in 0 for the t that's next to the negative 10?
Well, that's what we did here. Oh, hit the wrong button. Go back up. That's what we did right here.
Okay. Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So right there is when we did that. So when t is 0, we found out we had 2,800 feet. And so that means we're 2,800 feet up in the air. So the next one, so we analyze here is when your seconds are equal to 0. Down here is when your feet are equal to 0. And what does that mean? So we're solving something different down here.
Got you. Okay.
So when feet is equal to 0, that means that you hit the ground, right? So when feet 0, it takes 280 seconds for the person that's touched the ground, for the person to touch the ground. All right. Question. So whenever they ask for intercepts, you're going to plug in 0 into the function, and then you set that function equal to 0. So that's what we did here. Here we plugged in 0, found the value, and then here we set the value equal to 0, set the function equal to 0, and then solve for t. And that gave us our two values. All right, can I scroll? Oh, everybody okay? Nope, that's not it. Hold on 1 second before we go to slopes. So, okay, so they don't have any word problems for that. Okay. All right, so let's do one more with the y-intercepts. Give me 1 second. All right, so this is just repeating that. Let's go here. So once again, then they give you a regular equation. So let's walk through it if you have a regular equation and they ask you to find the intercepts. Just erasing some of this stuff. All right, so if they give you a regular equation, 2x plus 3y equal to 12, and they ask you to find the x and y intercepts, and then I'm asking you to graph. We can graph it just in case. All right, so 2x plus 3y equal to 12, and they ask you to find the intercepts. Doesn't matter which one you find first, just like before. Just remember that if you find the x-intercept, let y be equal to 0. If you find a y, if you're looking for the y-intercept, let x be equal to 0. All right, so I plug in 0 right here for y. 3 times 0, 0. That leaves me with 2x equal to 12. Divide by 2. X is equal to 6. So our ordered pair is 6, 0. All right, so for your y-intercept, you let x be equal to 0. So that's what happened right here. 2 times 0 is 0. So that leaves you with 3y equal to 12. Divide by 3. Y is equal to 4. So don't forget, whenever you write your order pair, x comes first, so that's 0, 4. It's x and then y. So your order pair is 0, 4. And that first order pair was 6, 0. So before we graph it, just in case they would have asked you to graph, any questions on what we did?
Speaking of graphing,
Mm-hmm.
is there any way you can show me how to graph on WebAssign? Because I've been having a lot of trouble with that.
Yep. Just remind me before we leave.
All right.
Now, certain problems don't actually ask for a whole graph or plotting points. So I know one of the things that I'm not saying that this is your issue, but I know a lot of people have in the past is looking at the directions and seeing when they're asking for points versus when they're asking for actual line or a graph. You know what I mean? So make sure you have the one specifically that you're looking for, because you may be trying to graph, not saying this is your case, but you may be trying to graph when all they want is, a couple of points. And so, and then we can look at that number that you're actually asking about. All right, so graph those 2 points. 0, 4 is right here and 6, 0 is right here, and that would be your line. All right, so when it comes to intercepts, questions on the intercepts, if you want to find x, you let y be equal to 0, solve for x. If you want to find your y-intercept, let x be equal to 0 and solve for y. All right. Yeah, you would just, once again, email me. Somebody sent a private message again, guys. So, but it's all about email. If you want to set up a session outside of class, email and we can set that up. That's all it is, and we'll make that happen. So next thing in this section they talk about is your slopes, or are your slopes. So m equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or you can use y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. You just have to be consistent. Notice you use y2 and x2 first here. And then here you use y1 first and x1 first here. So as long as you stay true to that, you'll get the same value. And rise over run. Let's see, are we using our slopes to graph? Yep, they talk about it. So we'll just go over to make sure we're good. So that rise over run will come into play when we actually go to graph. So that x1, y1, x2, y2 comes from any 2 points on the line. So your slope is just basically going to be a numerical value that represents the slant or the incline of your line. All right, scroll up. All right, so first example they could ask us of when it comes to the slope is they give you 2 points and tell you to find the slope. So here we have -2, -4, 3, -5. and we want to find the slope. So these are 2 points that will be on the same line. We have x1, y1. I labeled as my first point, -2, -4, and then my second point, 3, -5. So you want to go ahead and label which one you call in point 1 and which one you call in point 2 before you start plugging in your values. Once again, it doesn't matter which one you call point 1, which one you call point 2, as long as you're consistent in your substitution. So we'll do it both ways. So what I mean by that is, remember I said that we can do it this way or this way and still come up with the same answer. So in this first example, I do it both ways just to show you that that will occur. But of course, when you're doing it on your own, all you have to do is do it the one way and you'll get the correct answer. So let's look at y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 is -5, y1 is -4. So make sure you don't lose a negative. Let me erase this. Make sure you don't lose a negative. You plug in -4 and there's a minus sign in the formula as well. And then x2 is 3, x1 is -2. So negative to negative turns positive. So that's why we have -5 plus 4, 3 plus 2 on bottom. And that result will be -1 over 5. So down bottom, I just went ahead and did it the other way, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So -4 minus -5, and then on bottom, -2 minus 3. So that will give us a +1 over -5, which is the same thing as -1/5. So either way, you get the same answer. Just have to be consistent in how you substitute and calculate properly. All right, questions before I scroll up? Do at least another one. All right, so here we have the point 5, -6, and then the other point of 8, 3. Ask us to find the slope. Once again, I labeled the first point I saw as point 1, second point, point 2. Y2 is 3, and then y1 is -1, so that's why we have 3 minus -6. I said y1 is -1, y1 is -6, sorry about that. So 3 minus -6, and then on bottom, x2 minus x1 would be 8 minus 5. So 3 minus -6 is 9, 8 minus 5 is 3, 9 divided by 3 is 3. All right, questions? Any questions? Find the slope. All right. I don't think y'all need that. Hold on one second. I don't think they asked you guys that. I guess it ain't a big deal. All right. So the basic behaviors of your slope. You have 4 different types of behaviors, or 4 different ways that your slope could behave. If you follow your graph from left to right, in other words, like I said, following from left to right, if your graph goes up, your slope is positive. Following from left to right, if it goes down, your slope is negative. If you have a horizontal line, your slope is 0. Vertical line, your slope is undefined. All right, so no calculation there. Just know that following it from left to right. If your line goes up, then your slope is positive. If it goes down, slope is negative. If it's a horizontal line, your slope is 0. If it's a vertical line, your slope is undefined. Any questions? All right, don't need parallel lines or perpendicular lines. All right, so let's look at graphing using our slopes. As I mentioned, we're looking at rise over run. So your rise is going to represent your up or down movement. Your run is the right or left movement or shifting. So what dictate whether you go up, down, right, or left will be whether you have a positive or negative number. So your positive moves are up and right, your negative moves are down and left. All right, so just a few examples. If my slope was positive 3 over positive 4, that means I will go up 3, right 4. Because both of them are positive. Now, if I had negative 5 over a positive 7, or just negative 5 sevenths, that negative, you can assign it. You would either assign it to the top or the bottom. You would not give it to both. Negative over negative is positive. So you would just choose which one you want to give the negative to. I always say that it's safe to just give it to the top number. So that means that you will have a negative 5 over a positive 7 in this case, if you decide to give the negative to the top number. So if you have negative 5 over positive 7, it means I will go down 5, right 7. But if I decided to give it to the bottom number, that means I have a positive 5 over a negative 7. So I'll go up 5, left 7. And so either way, I will still get the same result. So the reason, if you look at it over here, if I have my point in the middle, and if I go down 5, right 7, that'll put me right here. But if I go up 5 and left 7, that'll put me up here. I still will have the same line. So the same line will be generated as long as you do everything correctly. So don't forget that your slope is not a point. What it does is let you generate points from other points. So it gives you directions. Your slope is actually directions. So from a point on that line, you will go down 5, right 7, or you can go up 5, left 7. So that's one thing I could have pointed out, that your slope is directions, or your slope would be directions. All right. Scroll up, everybody good. All right, so here we have our slope intercept form. We have y equal to mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. All right. So whenever your equation is solved for y and simplified as much as possible, that's considered being slope intercept form. The number that's sitting in front of x is your slope, and the other number is your y-intercept. All right, so let's say if I had this equation, y equal to 2/3 x plus 1, and they ask you what is the slope, what is the y-intercept. So what's in front of x is your slope. That's 2/3. So be careful. A lot of people make the mistake of writing 2/3 x as their slope. So your slope does not involve a variable. Your slope is just a number. It's just 2/3. And then the other number is your y-intercept, and that would be 1. And then the same thing as for this problem down here, we have y equal to -8/13x minus 5. So the -8/13 is your slope, and the -5 is your y-intercept.
Could you scroll up a little bit, please?
All right, any questions?
Okay, I'm good.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody still holding on to this before we scroll up? Should we do it? All right. So if we want to graph using our slopes, you're going to plot the y-intercept first, then we'll generate another point from the y-intercept with the slope. So once again, you don't go to, it's not a point, so you don't go to the origin. You actually go to a point that's on the line. The point that we notice on the line is the y-intercept. So we go to the y-intercept and generate another point. Give you a chance to finish copying. All right, so we have this equation right here to graph, y equal to 2/3 x minus 1. Our slope is 2/3. Y-intercept is -1. So that's a +2 over a +3. So that's up 2 and right 3. Then for our y-intercept, that's -1. So don't forget, we already mentioned that if we have our y-intercept, that means x is equal to 0. So that's a coordinate. You have 0, -1. All right. And as I mentioned, that's always the case for all y-intercepts. X is always 0. So you always take that number that they give you right here. And if you want to make it a point, you put a 0 in front of that 1 for your x component. So erase this. You always graph your y-intercept first. So you go to your origin and go down 1. Then from your y-intercept, you go up to right 3. And that's this point right here. All right. And that will be your point. Or your line, I should say. All right. Questions, questions, questions. All right, let's do it again. So here we have y equal to negative 1/4 x plus 3. So our slope is negative 1/4. So that means down 1, right 4. Then our y-intercept is going to be 3. So as an ordered pair, that will be 0, 3. So as I mentioned before, you graph this 0, 3 first. That's this point right here in green. Then from that point, you go down 1, right 4. That'll give us this point right here in the blue. All right, questions? Any questions? All right, so that's what 10.2 is on. Slopes and go back, our intercepts. I know I didn't put this up initially. I don't know if anybody wanted this. This is the background, just generalization, where your x-intercept, y-intercepts are. X-intercept is where the graph intercepts across the x-axis. That's why y is always 0. Your y-intercept is where the graph intercepts the y-axis. That's why x is always 0. So I know I didn't do that initially, but that's the background on your x-intercepts and y-intercept. That's why x is always 0 for y-intercept. That's why y is always 0 for your x-intercepts. But before we close out, I know one of your classmates mentioned graphing. Was that Mr. Long, or did I have my name wrong?
No, it was Tamara Dingle.
Okay, Ms. Dingle. Okay, yeah. So did you find that number?
It doesn't matter what number. You can choose any number you want. I just don't know how to do it, period.
Oh, so you just want to be a problem. Okay, I get it. No, I was just playing. All right, hold on one second. Let me log on, and we'll see what's going on. You remember what section you were in that gave you a problem?
Like, I was in like 10.1.
10.1? Okay. All right. All right, so hopefully you guys can see the screen, the graph and everything. So it says draw a line through all the points, x coordinates of 5. So if you're talking about x equal to 5, all your coordinates are 5, that should give you a vertical line. I believe we talked about vertical lines, but if all your points, x coordinates are 5, you want to draw a line, so you click on this one right here, and just 2 points should do it.
So you just double click that just now?
Just click once. Let's clear it again. So first of all, I'll go here. Now notice it gives you 3 different options as to how you want your line. Of course, you want the first one, arrow on both ends. Then you would click once here, and then you have to click a second point. Yeah. And so now if I wanted a different line, now this one has, you know, all of your x coordinates are going to be 5. So if I wanted a different line, I still would do this. Then point here, and then the other point.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Not a problem. All right, draw a line, coordinates of 2. So this one will be a horizontal line at 2. Just any 2 points that will create that horizontal line. Let's see if anything else. Now this is when I was talking number 3. Notice how it says, let's look at the difference in directions. So 1 and 2 says draw a line. Number 3 says graph the ordered pairs. So here you wouldn't click on this option. You would just do points for each one that you want to do. And you're not graphing a line. So make sure you guys watch out for that. So for number 3, it says graph the ordered pairs. So you're not graphing a line, you're just graphing points. But 1 and 2 actually wanted you to graph a line, so that's when you would use this option. All right. All right, so any questions before we close out? I'll just stop here at 10.2. Next class, we'll do 10.3. And go from there. All right, any questions, concerns before we close out today? So it's just on in the chat. All right, what's your question, Clay?
Yes, it was can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was a question on the math homework that was due yesterday. I finished all of it, but me and my mom had to just find the answer online, and we wanted to know how you solve it because I couldn't find it in our notes that we took in.
Oh, so what you're saying
I'm
is
on my phone.
okay. So what you're saying is that y'all were cheating.
For that one question, yes. You got to make it seem that
That's all I
I had
heard
my
was
mom helping me.
all I heard was
never.
I was cheating with my mama last night, and no, I'm just playing. So what was the question? Now you emailed me, right?
Yeah, but it was about a different one, and we figured that one out.
Okay. Do you remember the number?
Yeah, I'm about to say I took a screenshot of it.
Okay.
So it says R equals C minus S over T.
Hold on. I know you were gonna give it to me. I gotta get back to my screen, my writing screen.
Sorry.
I thought you were gonna tell me the number to go to. All right. So you said R
Equals C minus S over T.
All right.
And then it had like the semicolon with the S on the end, and it had business in commas, parentheses.
So
Then,
in other words, you just want to solve for S.
yeah, because the answer they gave us was C minus RT. That's the right answer. We just didn't know how they got it.
Okay, let me make sure we're doing the same thing. So if I want to solve for S, the first thing I would do is multiply both sides by T. So the T's will cancel. So now I have RT or TR, same thing. RT or TR, same thing. C minus S. Still trying to get S by itself, so I'm going to subtract C. So that's TR minus C equal to negative S. Now this negative needs to come off of the S. So when I take it over here, it has to be applied to both terms over there. So that means I have S over here, but then that'll be a negative TR plus C. Or you can write it as C minus TR. All right, so now are they saying that was the answer, or are they saying it was something different? Ooh. Did I lose
They,
it?
yeah, they
Okay.
said that C minus RT was just that's the answer.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's it right there. It should have accepted this as well. Um, so yeah.
Okay, because at first we was like type like she had the answer, but we didn't
Mhm.
know which way to type it in, so we thought it
Oh,
was just wrong on how to type it in. But then they showed us, so it's like we had it, but we didn't.
okay. So that means was that a test or what?
No, it was a homework.
Okay.
Um, it was
So
a homework.
homework's I'm a little more lenient on, but if it was like something that was made you borderline, then shoot me an email and I can give you the because it'll show me what you typed in for your final answer. So I should be able to give you credit for that. Just you got to shoot me an email to remind me to adjust the score.
Okay.
Also, make sure you pay attention to lowercase and uppercase. If you decide to use a capital C when they will use lowercase c, they'll mark that wrong too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay.
but yeah, if that's something you want me to adjust, shoot me that email to remind me to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem. All right. Anybody else before we close out for today? Anybody?
Um, can I get an extension on the homework?
No, man. Yeah. Shoot me that email to remind me, and I'll give you that extension. That's not a problem at all.
Was it just me that was like struggling the homework too? Because when you put those due dates and you said March 1st, I was like really scared because I was struggling. Me and my mom sat at that table for 7 hours finishing up those assignments. I've never been behind on homework, but you gave us
Right.
that date, and I was like,
Well,
8 hours.
like I said, well, to me that sounds like you and your mom had a great time. I just want to go ahead and put that out there first. Second, yeah, it was just because I had to put something out there, a marker.
That's what I
Far
told
as
her. Because
yeah,
whenever I had finised my test, she was like, "You mean to tell me we did all that work just so the test could be only 20 questions?" I'm like, I didn't know the test was that short until I went to it. I don't know what to tell you. He had to turn in 5-week grades. I just told
right.
her, she knows I'm never backed up on my homework, so it was a
Mhm.
shocker to her. And I was like, he just assigned it at a weird time. They had to
Yeah,
put grades in.
yeah. And so, and I thought we had at least another week because I'm just like, why would you count the first
Yeah,
week
so
when it
did
was
my
only like,
English teacher. She was the
yeah,
same way.
yeah. So once again, I'm gonna give you any matter of fact, what I probably do is just extend everybody. But I had, like I said, I've had trouble in the past where if I left it open, then people were saying, well, I thought we had till the end of the semester, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, but I had to put something as a marker. So I just went ahead and legitimately put a marker. Um, I had enough people to ask me for extension, so I'll probably just open it up for everybody to go in there. If you have any questions about, number of attempts or something like that, just email me. I always say, whenever you deal with a professor, if you have an individual concern, let's say if you wanted 2 attempts, one of your attempts got messed up, or can I please get a 3rd attempt? All that type of stuff. You don't ever ask that type of stuff in the front of the class because you'll get a class answer. So if you ever have an individual question, always ask that individually so I can address you as an individual. But if you ever ask any professor in front of a class, you will always get a class answer, or they have to massage their individual answer to a class answer, and you don't want that. So if you ever have anything or requests that only pertains to you, always make sure you guys shoot me that email, and then I'll address you accordingly. But yeah, I'm willing to accommodate you guys with any way I can. Anybody's willing to put in the work, I'm willing to help you out. So outside of that, that's it for today. I'll see you guys on next class. We'll get into 10.3, answer any other questions that you have, and we'll go from there. All right. See somebody else in the chat. All right, no problem. Not a problem at all. Thank you guys for coming through. I'll see you on next class.
Have a good one.
All right, thanks. You do the
Have a
same.
great day, Doug.
Don't forget to shoot me that email so I can give you that extension.
Have a good day.
Thanks. You do the same.